Yes, guys, we're here, episode 2, Products of Your Environment. I have a very special guest today. Goes by the name of Ryan Huddart, talking about his experiences in the academy system and coming out of it as well. So let's give a warm welcome to Ryan. Yes,
Hi,
Ryan.
everyone.
How
You
you
all
doing?
right?
Yeah, all good, all good. How's
Good
lockdown?
man. Um, Annoying me, as you can see, like it's starting to get on my nerves.
With me. So, it's been too long when it goes over your ears.
Yeah, it's starting to. I'm not far from that point. I'm not far.
All
So,
right, so let's just go straight into it. For the people that don't know you, can you talk to us a bit about what age you first got into the system, how, and at what club?
okay, so I started in the academy system at the age of 8,
Mm.
um, and I joined an academy or team called Gillingham Football Club. They're
Yeah.
in League One now. They were my nearest team to me, my nearest academy to me, and I was there for a year. And then I went to Charlton when I was 9, and at that point, Charlton were in the Premier League. And then I was there for 5 years till I was 14. And when I was 14, Arsenal's academy bought me at the age of 14, and I was there for 7 years,
At Arsenal.
6 years full time. Yeah, I was there 6 years full time, so every day training at London Colney with the first team and around the reserve team boys. And I was there, yeah, and I got released from there at the age of 21 years of age.
So
So my academy career was 13 years in total.
amazing.
My academy
So
was 13, yeah.
what was the main differences between going from Charlton to Arsenal? Was it a big step up?
I think it was more just the minimum requirements of you. Like as a Charlton player, when we always played the bigger sides, it was always an underdog. So
Yeah.
what if you got a result? You're kind of rolling the dice. You have nothing to lose. And I always quite enjoyed being the underdog without knowing it really. Because when I went to Arsenal, it was this, there was this bar set that you don't lose. And for a while, I found that a bit, it hits you all of a sudden. And I got used to it in time. But my first year, it was, it was quite different and hard to adapt,
Mm. I think,
especially as a 14-year-old.
and especially as a goalkeeper as well, because you're you're
Yeah,
you're the protection at the back. What goes in, you're the last man. It goes past you.
yeah, I was used to like being when I was at Charlton. I played up a lot when I was at Charlton in a weakened team,
Mm.
and um, and I always had a lot to do. And as a goalie, it's always a lot easier to do well when you're having a lot to do, because if goals go in and you're still making saves, then you can always come off looking good.
Yeah.
Whereas when I joined Arsenal, they were a stronger team, and they were meant to win every game. So if a goal does go in, you're not going to have as much to do to to look good, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I get you.
So yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting how different aspects of goalkeeping in different teams. People from the outside probably think it's all the same, but it's not.
Yeah.
When you're in goal.
So talking
But yeah,
about Arsenal, what was it like being there? The general week, the lifestyle. Like obviously you moved out to Digs, moving away from your
yeah.
family.
When I was in the under-18s, yeah.
Yeah,
When I was younger, this what
yeah, yeah.
um, so I left home at 15 years of age. So I had to move out of my mum and dad's house at the age of 15, and I moved into digs in Barnet. And yeah, it was at the time very exciting. Like I was always an outgoing kid. Like I loved being outdoors, and for me, it was like moving away from home was amazing. For my mum and dad was a struggle, especially my mum. I don't think my mum's even fully recovered now, really, losing her son at 15 years of age. I say that like I'm dead, but losing her son as in him moving out of my mum's house, and yeah, it was it was difficult. It was a big change, as
Mm.
in like you would I'd train. It went very intense very quickly at the age of 15. Like we were training every day, and I was doing schooling, and we had games on a Saturday, and it kind of just all of a sudden become very intense, and it. But I learned so much about football in general and about myself as a person that I would never have learned if I'd have stayed at school or anything like that and stayed at home. I mean, I've learned so much, so many people skills even from moving away from home so early.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, there's pros and cons of it.
But obviously, getting that scholarship in the first place is a massive achievement, and
Mm.
um, you went on to get your pro as well, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I got that at the age of 17. So
Yeah.
when I was 16, I was playing for England. We played in, it was
Mm.
then called the Victory Shield, which was a which was a like a big competition for the under 16s. England would play Ireland, then they play Northern Ireland, then they play Wales, and they play Scotland. It was a league, and I done well in that competition. And so I think off that and me training in and around the first team, that's why I got offered a professional contract when I did.
What players were in and around you in the first team?
Of
Just
my age,
of your age and like people names would know. People's
uh, so of my age, Joe Willock was a little bit younger than me.
so he's
Reece Nelson was a little bit younger than me. Alex Iwobi.
yeah,
Me and Alex Iwobi, we actually used to get a 384 bus from Cockfosters to Barnet every day
yeah,
together because our digs were literally 200 metres away.
yeah.
So yeah, we used to be chasing the 384 down Mount Pleasant to get on it. um, yeah, who else? There was in the academy with me at that time. Serge Gnabry,
Yeah.
Serge. Hector Bellerin was in the next dressing room to me.
Mm.
Isaac Hayden plays for Newcastle now.
You still speak to
Uh,
them?
Not as much, no. Dan Crowley, who plays for Birmingham, I speak to from time to time.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, no. One player that I keep in contact regularly now is Jack Wilshere, that I was friends with when I was there.
Yeah.
Peter Cech I still speak to from time to time. Emi Martinez as well. Emi Martinez was a couple of years older than me. He was in the reserves when I was in the under 16s, 17s. We trained together. I was on the bench for him when he first started playing in the first team in the Champions League. So I still speak to Emi probably once, twice a month.
When it
So
comes
yeah.
to those players that are still there now and the ones that made it as professional footballers, what do you think the difference was in terms of ability, attitude, bit of luck?
Um, I mean, I'm not going to name names of those players.
Yeah,
They haven't all had good attitudes.
yeah,
I'll be honest. They haven't all. Their attitudes have improved, but they haven't all got good attitudes. Um, they've all got ability. They've all got bundles of ability, and they've all got a gift in a certain sense that they've worked on as such. And they've all had a little bit of luck, which is needed,
yeah.
I think, to be a professional. And they've all had a pathway that's been there for them to take their luck on.
Mhm.
Um, I look at even at Emi Martinez last year. Emi probably would still be there now if Bernd Leno never got injured and he didn't have those games
Yeah,
at the end of the season. And I look at Joe Willock. Alex Iwobi is the biggest example for me of luck. Alex got told twice that they want to release him. Once at 16, then once again at 19, and last minute kind of thing, they turned it around and he stayed.
mhm,
And I remember when he was 19, 20, a pre-season, we were coming back to pre-season, and it was a World Cup year or a Euros year, I can't remember now. And so what happens then is the first team would come back slowly, so they wouldn't all come back together because let's say you play for, I don't know, England, for example, and they get knocked out in the group stage, and from that 3 weeks from then they'll come in, so they're kind of scattered when they come in.
mhm.
So Alex, well, they were short on Alex's position as wingers, or I think he went in over as a winger, and so he went and joined the first team because they were short, and he done really well. And the boss decided to take him on pre-season tour, and then he come back and he stayed with them, and then all of a sudden, you know, he was around their group and started playing games, and there's his luck, and he was very close to leaving. And it just shows you, like, really, you just need a little bit of luck from time to time. And not all players get it. I've seen some fantastic players that could have been top players not have luck.
Yeah.
And right place at wrong time, or wrong place at right time. And you do need luck, and you do need someone to believe in you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that same player that isn't believed in at Arsenal might be believed in at Charlton and get a first team chance, and then goes and plays 50 games at the age of 20 in their first team. All of a sudden, Liverpool buying. It's funny how football works. Even my career, when I look at mine, I took the jump of moving to a big academy like Arsenal at the age of 15 because I thought the coaching would be better. And I thought that I would get the best of the best, really. And I did. But maybe if I'd have stayed at Charlton in League One, and, maybe I'd have ended up playing in their first team because they wouldn't have been bringing in goalies from all the way around the world.
Yeah.
And maybe I'd have been given more of a chance as I was one of their own, and to get him in the first team and get him games and sell him on is their club philosophy. Maybe I should have done that. But hindsight's a lovely thing. Yeah.
Out of those boys that were in your under 18 squad in the academy, how many actually went on to play professionally?
Okay.
As just an estimate.
One.
How many people did you have in your
When
squad?
you play professional, they've played a league game.
Well, what would you class as making it?
So Dan Crowley's one that went to Chuba Akpom was in my under 18s team. He was a year older than me, but he was in my team.
Mm-hmm.
And he went abroad. He played in Arsenal first team a few times and went to play in Greece. And now he's come back for Middlesbrough. So I'll say he's had a career as such.
Yeah.
Alex Iwobi, I'd say, has had a career as such. He was a year above me as well. In my year, Dan Crowley went to Holland, come back, signed for Birmingham, and now he's just gone on loan to Hull. I'd say he's having a career as such. There's been, who else? Daniel Marlin was in my under 18s team. He's playing for Ajax.
And how many in your squad did you have?
We had 18, 19 players. There's a lot that have had careers. There's only one. There's about Ben Sheaf, who's on loan at Coventry at the moment. He was in my team.
Yeah.
There's only a few that haven't really. There's about four or five that haven't really had careers. Ainsley Maitland-Niles was in my age.
So you'd say more went on.
Ainsley was in my year. Ainsley was in my dressing room. Yeah, he was a 97. We played tournaments together. Ainsley. He's another one. He didn't always have a great attitude. Sometimes he'd be the first to admit that he sometimes did sulk. And but he started to work hard, and he's got where he has today. And yeah, he would sit there and say, "I've had a little bit of luck as well," because you do need that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you could go back and do something differently, or tell your younger self a bit of advice, or even younger footballers now within the system, what would you do and what would you tell them?
I would say to my younger self today that you can just work as hard as you can in your first years in academy football, because they're the most important years They really are. Between 16 to 19, I'd say, is the most important years of your whole academy life and your whole footballing career.
Hmm.
Because what you get out of those years could change and really change the outlook of the rest of your career. Um, and just not to let little things affect you, I would say, is the biggest bit of advice I could give any young player. Don't let a coach that you don't like, or a physio that you don't like, or a fitness coach that you don't like, or a fellow player that you don't like, that you have to sit with every day, affect you and what you do. Because those 3 years, whatever club you're at in the country, those 3 years does scope where you're going to go in your career. And you are very much there for you in those years. It changes after that a little bit. When you go into a first team, you're there for the team and you're there to help the team. Obviously, you develop yourself still, but you're very much more involved in the team. Whereas in the age of 16 to 19, it's very much about you. You see, called the Elite Player Performance Plan by the
Hmm.
Premier League, EPP, and that is put in place to develop individuals. So when they say about the teams and the under 18 team, I would say to any young player coming through, just worry about yourself and every day go in there as if it's your last. That's the advice I would give to any
Yeah,
young player going into an academy now full time.
I think that's great advice because I think a lot of people can relate to that, and it's the little things that get to you more than the big things.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
no, you're right. You're right. And I had it, I had it with a coach that I knew was against me, and I knew that he was um, not blowing in my direction and not wanting to aid and help me. And I let it affect me in a critical age, probably of my academy life, and I did at times let it overcome me. And people think, oh, you just go to football and it's enjoy. When you got some coaches that are onto you every day, and it can affect you,
mm,
especially like for when you're not coming home to your mum and dad as well, and you can't talk to them, and you know you might call your agent and he wants to get off the phone because he's trying to help his other player. Like that can happen, and it
yeah,
can be very difficult for young players. And I don't think there is a platform for them to be helped enough. Listen, it's come a long way
yeah,
already. It's come a long way because now most academies have a sports psychiatrist and that they go and speak to, and I think they're really needed for the younger player. I really do, especially on that transition of them going full time.
yeah.
Um, and I think it's something that's really great for young players.
Mm,
Um, but from when I first started, sports psychs weren't believed in at all. Like they were when I was 15, 16, it only really changed. I'll tell you now how much it changed. When I first went full time, there was 8 full-time members of staff in the academy. When I left at 21, there was 32 full-time members of staff in the
yeah,
academy, and that was just up at Colney, up at London Colney. That wasn't at Hale End. That was just up at London Colney. So it just shows you how much intense it got across my how many years, 6 years full time, how intense it went, and how much money was ploughed into it all of a sudden. I
yeah,
think if I'd have had 32 members of staff in the first 3 years, it would have really have helped me. They had probably only really come in my last 3 years. The sports psychs, the fitness coaches, um, and yeah, I think maybe it would have helped me more.
mm. That's one thing. Well, you already answered it, but I was going to ask you next that when it came to the end of your career at Arsenal, was there any kind of support system then? And also, do you think there's enough now when it comes to the end of scholarships for the younger generation in today's society? Because I don't think there is enough.
It's a really big bugbear of mine,
Hmm.
um, and it's something that I have voiced before in Zooms with various different um, I've soccer schools, and I've done it for a mental health Zoom that I was on with ex players, and I really don't feel that there's enough in place from the Premier League
Mhm.
and from the FA to help players leave football. Now, for me, when you leave an academy, an elite academy, because now the government are saying we're an elite sport.
Mhm.
Now, for me, when you leave an elite academy and you can't even get a normal job, something has gone wrong.
Yeah.
There should be some kind of education, a little bit more in depth than what they give.
Yeah.
They really do give the bare minimum and tick the box for me, and I don't think there's enough opportunity for players to do things. Now, even like, I just don't think the academy system is aided to help players leave. It's aided to make players. It's not aided to help players get careers at all, especially the top clubs. For me, I don't think at times they help players get careers at all. Um, but I think there needs to be more in place for younger players coming through. I really do. I think there needs to be more so that when they do finish their scholarship at 18, they can go and get a job in a gym as a fitness coach, or they can go and be a police officer even, or they can go and work in an office because they will have that. They would have learnt that across their 2 years. Because really, for me, they finish school end of year 11 and they go full time. Those 2 years where they go full time, 16 to 18, you're at sixth form if you didn't go. So
Yeah.
then at 18, when you leave, you haven't got the same qualifications as the people that would be at a sixth form. So then going to a university, so you're 2 years behind, and then you get stuck like in this rat race to stay in football because it's all you've ever known.
Yeah.
And a lot of players, I know so many players that don't like they don't love football. Like they'd love to get out of football, but they're stuck in this rot to stay in it and carry on. And
Because they
it's
don't have anything else to go on to.
yeah, and it's really headbanging for me to see. And I just don't think the Premier League put enough in place to help players. I really
Mm.
don't help players transition. It's more of a transition thing, really, that they don't offer.
So is it almost a case of
Even for
once?
players, even for players that are retiring at 35,
Yeah.
I saw a stat a few months ago that there's like within 3 years of retiring, the divorce rate is like 50%. So
Man.
every 1 and 2 players are getting divorced after 3 years of retiring because they can't cope themselves with the life they was in for so long. Their wives can't deal with them doing their new job or the income not being the same, and they fall out of love and they get divorced. And it's horrific,
Yeah.
really, that the FA and the Premier League don't allow for that for that help for the transition that will come, because every single player, whether he finishes playing at football at 18 or 20 or 36, will have a transition out of football. That might be going into coaching. It might, like, there's different ways of staying in football. Might end up as an agent, but they don't offer it. They don't aid it. They don't help it. You're on your own. And I think rugby, they help more. I know that they've got more in place to help rugby players that stop playing. There's more in place to help them get jobs. Um, but yeah, I just think there should be more, especially in the modern day society that we're in, especially with mental health now, how big it is. You only have to look on the TV every morning on the news, someone's talking about it,
Mm.
and there's not enough in place for the elite sport, as it's now branded.
Right now, especially, I don't know if you heard about the story a couple of weeks ago with the boy who didn't get his professional contract, and he was going through
Yeah.
mental health issues at the time, and
Mm.
the result of him not getting it, he took his life because he was so upset by it.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I'm not
Um,
going to say too much on it because it's not my place, but that just it's messed up, you
what
know.
club was you at?
Man City. So
So he was at a big club that would have a lot in place and a lot of staff that he could talk to, and probably sports psychs. And listen, some boys, I've seen it. Some boys really do put their heart and soul and give every last inch.
yeah.
They weigh their food. They go over and above. And
Mhm.
when they're told no at a critical moment, it can knock them for six. and they probably think, oh, what am I going to do? Tell my friends? Like, you know, it becomes, you know, you really start to believe that you will be a professional footballer, and to the point I've seen some players.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go on, I'm listening.
I've seen some players go like dumb to it, like they're just immune to seeing what actually is going to happen. So for me, I knew I was going to be released at 21. I knew in the last year I could see the writing on the wall for me. But there's so many players that carry on and they just don't see it happening. And when it hits them, they get knocked over and they get knocked for six, and they really struggle. And it doesn't surprise me that this has happened now. In the end, I think there's probably been a few boys that have been close to doing what that poor lad done, because I don't think there is enough in place.
It's massive. It's massive. I think it's a very big topic, and it needs to be spoken on, and more does need to be done.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
moving on from that, just to finish us off, could you give us 3 highs and 3 lows of your career?
We'll do my 3 lows first. 3 lows. I think one of my lows is probably been that so far I haven't had maybe the luck I maybe should have had.
Mhm.
That's not a low as such, but my second low would probably be getting released from Arsenal at 21. But at the same time, I was very proud that I spent so many years there.
Cool.
So it wasn't so much of a low. My third low probably be last season at Bromley for me. I had a very good first year when I left Arsenal. I was as playing on the pitch what I could offer. I was very good at Boreham Wood my first year, and last year I wasn't so good. I struggled. I went into Bromley at a time when they were top of the National League, and this is the first time I've probably admitted this. I actually felt the pressure of going into a team at the top of the league. When I was at Boreham Wood the season before, we were down the bottom and I had loads to do, and it was easy to, like I said before, and I went into a team that all of a sudden there was a pressure of they're going up. And the goalie was a very good goalie that I went in for. He dislocated his shoulder and I filled in for him. And I could feel that pressure as soon as I walked in, that I'm feeling like I'm coming into a place where they have to get promoted.
Yep.
And I couldn't afford to make a mistake. And to the point where I was like, I hated going to games and I couldn't wait for the games to finish. Like, that was getting to that stage and made me question, do I want to play anymore? Like, I was so desperate to get in the car and get home after games. I was so, like, I used to hate it. I used to, like, from Thursday I was dreading getting to Saturday. And when I got home Saturday night, it was like a weight had been taken off my shoulder, whatever had happened.
Yeah.
And then I would go on my phone and I'd look at Twitter and I'd see maybe sometimes fans slagging me off, and it would affect me. And I think if I had to play now, I think I'd be in a lot better headspace, because I'm at the stage now where I couldn't really give a monkeys anymore.
Yeah.
Which is probably the best place to be to play. But yeah, no, that was probably my lowest low. Was probably last year. The pandemic probably saved me, really. It came at a time when I was desperate for something to give.
Yeah.
And it gave.
And your 3 highs?
So my 3 highs. I think my first high would probably be representing my country.
Mhm. Massive.
I represented them 1, 2, 5 times. I'd say probably getting chosen to be on the bench twice in the Champions League. And I'd say working with my third biggest high, even though it's not an individual, but being given the opportunity to work with some of the greatest professionals Arsenal Football Club will ever see.
Mhm.
In the sense of, I work with Thierry Henry, I work with Robbie Perez, I work with Jens Lehmann, I work with Peter Cech, I work with Arsene Wenger, I've worked with some of Arsenal's greatest ever players and managers, and that was probably a high in itself, because I now coach quite a bit, and I take a lot of what I learned from my years there. I take now into how I coach, and they would be my highs.
I think obviously you've experienced a lot and been through it all, and your opinion is very important because you've been through it and come out of it. One one last thing is like, so what are you doing now, and what's your plans for the future?
What am I doing now? At the moment, I'm at Boreham Wood. I've gone back there. It's 10 minutes from my house. I know the chairman, I know the manager well. I've gone in there as cover, really, just training, tick over, and I've really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed the no pressure of going in there. And now I think I'm actually very ready to go in and play again.
Yeah.
I think I've needed this time out. I'm not like chomping at the bit to play. I'm not, but I have within me now. I'm kind of feel like I'm quite ready to go back in. I have regrets on my career, and one of them is maybe I haven't backed myself at times when I maybe should have. I have that negative thought sometimes overpowers my positive one.
Yeah.
What do I want to do in the future? I don't know, Rico. Is my answer to you. I'd love to be a football agent.
Yeah.
That's something I'd love to do, because I'd love to be able to help players get the career that maybe I didn't have. And I want to be able to really look them in the eye. And I hear so many agents say that they do it for money and they do it for this reason, that reason. I think the reason I would be an agent is to help the player be the best possible player he can be and get the best possible career he can get. And yeah, that's what I think I could see myself end up doing long term.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Ryan. I think we covered everything. I hope the viewers enjoyed it. I'm sure they did. But yeah, thank you. Stay safe, Ryan. Hopefully
And
see you.
mate,
Thanks for
I
thanks
hope
guys for listening, and make sure you share and subscribe.
Oh! Cheers, Keeps.
Rico, not the same call.
Oh, okay.